your seats. The focus of this service today, as you can see, is not only about the Hiroshima Remembrance Day, but it's also about the sacrament, which is central to the Christian faith. The focus today is on the ways by which the Church might rediscover its vital role in bringing out the best in human beings. And when we see that happening, and when we're part of it, it is a cause to celebrate. So the Old Testament reading today sits as a kind of fulcrum, giving balance to both the Old and New Testaments. The people were in a low state. There'd been much suffering and sadness. But they were urged to look up and see a new hope and a new vitality appearing on the horizon. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of one who brings good tidings, who proclaims the possibility of peace, who shows the ways of God. Break into singing, even in your devastated places. Believe again in the possibilities of compassion in the world. We look toward a day when the whole world will be delivered from war and violence and destruction, and realize the better way that God has set before us all. The reading from the Old Testament today. There is a wide consciousness throughout many Western societies that bureaucracies, from the smallest to the largest, can cause us so much frustration. Red tape everywhere is the constant accusation. Read the small print. Keep your records from how many years. Please refer to the email we sent you on the 15th of May 1999. And so it all goes on. We can be programmed to become T.S. Eliot's J. Alfred Prufrock. He became something like a soulless individual, preoccupied with the little things, measuring out his days in cups of coffee. Are the teaspoons made of plastic or fake metal? Prufrock was a well-educated man, doing his part to prattle on about little things. Wherever he was, at the cocktail party, wherever. Why not go along with it all? Why try to be different? How should I begin, he said, to spit out all the butt ends of my days and ways? Daphne Stevens, writing about the poem, said she'd met Prufrock in many forms. I recognize him, she said, by his soul-hungry look. Well, we know what it's like to be hungry for food. We know what it's like to be hungry for friends. We know what it's like to be hungry for something to happen. But what does it mean to be hungry in your soul? Of course, we quickly give that question a miss because it seems such a stupid question to talk about your soul. Where is the soul? Who believes in a soul these days? Yet you probably walked into a workplace somewhere in this city and you felt, this is such a soulless place. Soulless place. You've probably been in a school and you've wondered, though they do everything right, you say, maybe you've said it yourself, this school has no soul. You probably know a dozen people, nice people, achievements on their walls, large homes, luxury holidays, And you might think for a moment, but they've lost their soul. And then we might look at ourselves. Are we any different? Hunters and gatherers of many things, ready to call the shots, high achievers in television trash. We can talk about this website or that, the new shoes and the various physical symptoms all displayed on the websites, the Twitters and the latest blogs, but check out your soul. And you'll not be surprised that people might smile at you and walk on. Walk on. The church once used to talk about the soul, but these days, the church can no longer talk soul sense, can't talk sense about the soul. And the place where soul work was supposed to be done is often a soulless place. John Keats wrote, not long before his aching death, "Call the world, if you please, the vale of soul-making." But where do you see soul-making taking place? Where is it taught? Where is it being talked about? The same poet, John Keats, would also write, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness." A thing of beauty. Speak soft and good words to the human soul. But stifle or suffocate or destroy the beauty of things, and the soul of the individual, or maybe the soul of humanity, becomes like your valued letter disappearing into cyberspace when you inadvertently pressed the delete button. The Saturday advertisement for this address said, "The unique task of the church in the 21st century is the search for the best in every human being." Why does the church get it so wrong? More importantly, how will the church rediscover its own soul and bring new focus on that most important task, searching and affirming the best in every human being? I've been urged to read a relatively new book called The Underground Church. Not a book that will last long on my shelves, but in the early pages, the author wrote, "Of all the reasons given for the decline of the church in our time, the number one reason is so often left unsaid, and that is, no one really expects anything important to happen here." Is that so? I think a more common reason could be we don't believe all this stuff that the church has been talking about for so long. It means nothing to us. It is a dead and empty space. No soul. Well, I'm going to put to one side for a few minutes the unique task of the church in the 21st century. And without too many preconceptions, I'm going to begin a search for the best in every human being. And I'm going to name 7 features of the best in the human being. 7 features. We're going to light the candles in a few moments. 7 candles. We can remember them. Some of you write notes, you can write them down, but 7 important things. First, everyone, sooner or later, runs into the inner question, who am I? Am I really a person of worth? Will I settle for the J. Alfred Prufrock personality? Or will I look for that experience that will lift me to be a more enjoyable person, a more expansive person, a person special, unique? Where are the places where I can be an exceptional person? It is good to be alive, good to feel comfortable in my own skin. Last week, some of our papers noted the painting in Docklands done by Australia's famous artist John Olsen. It prompted me to turn the pages to recall some of his words that I recorded more than 16 years ago. He said, and I quoted him then, "It's a terrible state of affairs when you don't understand the grace of a new morning." That sort of a person is not always looking for things to grouch and gripe about. But there is an expansive grace to be there every morning. A person of vitality, of grace, of goodness, the best in the human being. Second, the human being, every one of us surely, lives in the context of our relationships. When you find the best in a human being, you will find something of the best pleasure in their relationships. They not only want to belong, they want to collaborate. They want to be together. They want to celebrate together. They not only want to pay their membership, they want to make their membership real. Bring out the best in the human being in their relationships. The third thing, we see the best in the human being in their behaviour. Oh yes, their behaviour. As you've already heard, this year in our St. Michael's Week, we will have as our guests 3 very distinguished international figures. Each one of them has made an astonishing contribution to science, to medicine, to health, to the world. One will speak at the breakfast about the wonders of the human brain. Another will speak about enhancing human behaviour. And the third will stand before us as one who's worked with Doctors Without Borders and will tell us, we'll hear of some of the astonishing experiences he went through, has been through. Each one of them will tell us what is possible. Each one of them will no doubt speak of some of the most distressing human conditions. But there'll be ample room for astonishment and pride. And then more. For being thus inspired, we might see windows open for all people, for us, to do something to change human behaviour, our behaviour, to find ways of compassion and tolerance, to find ways for better hospitality and generosity, to find ways whereby we can behave differently, be better human beings. The fourth thing, the best in the human being is seen as we develop control over our anxieties. Anxieties will always be with us. Anxiety is part of our existence. But the anxieties can so easily be aroused by people and events in the outer world, our outer world. Or the anxieties can so easily bounce up in front of us from our inside, our inner world, from the past, from our thoughts, from our memories, from our moods. The human being at his best, at her best, develops a comfortable control over their anxieties. You heard it being spoken about today in the gospel reading. Without that control, you see, we can easily bounce into hostility and anger, into self-destructive thinking and behaviour. We all need to find ways for better control of our anxieties. Number 5, the best in the human being does not live locked up in himself, herself, but there is a consciousness of being a participant in the world. A local consciousness. If you live in Ashwood or Albert Park, you want to know what's going on in Ashwood or Albert Park. If you come from Blackburn or Beaumaris, you're concerned about what's going on in Blackburn and Beaumaris. If you live in Carlton or Carnegie, the same thing applies. Ballarat or Bacchus Marsh, there's a local concern, a local consciousness, a local caring involvement. But more than that, on the larger sphere, there's a global consciousness. We're part of that global consciousness. We can't live so much to our own little pocket. Whether it is the changing economy in Greece or China, whether it is the boat catastrophe on our northwestern shore, or the bus crash in Italy, the traffic in drugs, or the corruption of people in privileged places, we all have this global consciousness. Today, in reflective concern, we see how human destruction has laid its appalling footprint on so many countries, wartime after wartime. But on this Hiroshima Sunday, we have stood today in silence as the simulated bell in the Hiroshima Park was sounded. The bell in that park is a large bell, and each visitor to the park can pull back the tongue and let it fall and strike the bell. And it resonates right around the park, as if to the whole world, the bell of peace in the Hiroshima Park. The bell of peace for global community, human beings trying to retrieve their best. Number 6. Every human being, I think, at some point of their life, needs a sensation of soothing. They need to be lifted by the spirit of resilience, a theme that we've taken in St. Michael's for this year. The sensation of soothing and the spirit of resilience. Soothing is needed for our pain, our sorrow, and our distress. Resilience, of course, is only a word, and perhaps we don't even know the meaning of the word, but it speaks of our capacity to start again, to live in spite of the past, to rise to be stronger people because of the past. Resilience, in fact, is a relatively new word to the psychological vocabulary, surprising as that might sound. D.H. Lawrence wrote of it by a different name many years ago. Shall I tell you again of the new word, he wrote? The new word of the unborn day, it is resurrection. Unless we mix it up with so many confused meanings, he wrote in another poem, the only reason for living is being fully alive. To be alive, you've got to feel a generous flow. The world is waiting for a great movement of generosity. Resilience of the human spirit. I hold in my hand, for number 7, in the Amnesty International's latest brochure. Its cover picture, you may not be able to see, is a young lad holding a huge gun, a weapon of death. His eyes stare at us, straight at us. And the caption here says, "You have the right to remain silent." And over the page it said, "But if that's not a right you wish to exercise, there is an alternative." Can we save this child? His fingernails. I notice his fingernails, and they are the symbol of a dirty war. But I look at this young lad's face. It is a beautiful face. But his soul is murdered. And as I look at his face, I think, what could this boy become? Can we save this child? Various expressions of religion used to talk about saving souls. It was one of those inane religious catch cries that did not see fully that saving a soul meant opening a window for a human being to be the best human being possible. Yes, of course, that child in this brochure is a child over there somewhere else. But violence and destructiveness is in our society too, and it needs attention. From childhood to old age, will we learn before it is too late that an alternative is possible? Is there room for peace between people? Or will we go on outdoing each other with weapons of destruction, from nuclear warheads to precision-focused drones, from stupidity at the local level to global insanity, from soulless catalepsy to mindless immorality? Will we? So I've set before you 7 expressions of our search for the best human being. I'll name them again. To find, if we can, the best vitality, the best worth, the best dignity in the human being. Second, to collaborate in the best human relationships. Third, to affirm the best human behavior. Fourth, to develop controls over the anxiety that tends to spill out in different ways. 5, to participate in our local and global consciousness. 6, embracing the sensation of soothing and the spirit of resilience, soothing ourselves and soothing each other and bringing to all the spirit of resilience. And 7, saving the children of the world from violence and destructiveness. Now the question hangs over us. Can the churches realize that this is their unique task, to bring out the best in every human being, to put aside all the arguments that go on about beliefs and dogma and all the rest that we can't believe or don't believe or have struggled to believe. The things that are supposed to be important, put them aside for a moment and focus on the unique task, the most comprehensive task, the highest of all tasks, to bring out the very best in every human being. If the church would do that job, things would be so different, surely. To affirm not only that we are experts, we have expert ability to kill and to destroy, but we have ability to affirm and celebrate the goodness of life and the vitality and the flow of goodness in every person's life, to facilitate that. Now, we belong to the church, remember? And we have a part in this, the church's task. Of course, we have our own tasks out there. Some of you have tasks that are imposed upon you. Some of you have tasks that you choose, and some of you share your tasks with others. Many of you belong to organizations that make very significant contributions to help human beings to be their best. Many of you are employed in companies or institutions and organisations, or you are within the professions that have a similar mandate. But the church, if it could refine its own soul, and therefore make a unique and most comprehensive contribution to this critical task, wouldn't things be so different? Searching for and bringing out the best in every human being. And we, because we belong to the church, we are its ambassadors, its practitioners, its collaborators, its carriers. And we can choose, of course, to stand back and wait. We have a right to do that. But we also have a right to exercise the alternative.